All right, so ever catch yourself looking at some massive skyscraper and thinking, how in the world, like, how would they even build that thing?
It's kind of mind-boggling, right?
Totally. Well, today we are diving headfirst into that world construction quality management. We're going to see what's going on behind the scenes to make those impressive structures happen. And, you've sent in a bunch of articles, notes. It seems like you're seriously checking this career path out.
That's right, yeah, and these sources are like a fantastic peek behind the curtain. We're going way past those, those basic job descriptions you see online, getting into the nitty-gritty, the tough decisions, the skills you need. Oh, and yeah, even some math gets involved. Gotta love that.
Okay, so let's break this down. One thing that jumps out from like page one of these sources, not your average desk job, huh? It's office stuff mixed with being right there on the construction site.
One source, it actually described like a construction quality manager's day. Starting by going over blueprints for some complex drainage system, right? But by the end of the day, they're out there in the pouring rain, making sure that system's installed perfectly. Talk about needing a variety of skills. Yikes.
Whoa, it's a lot to juggle. So it's not just the technical stuff, but you got to be adaptable, roll with the punches. No surprise, these sources are all about soft skills, communication, problem solving, all that.
For sure. Picture this. Subcontractors cutting corners, deadlines approaching fast. You're the construction quality manager. You got to step in, make it clear what the problem is, and find a fix. Keeps the project moving, but without sacrificing those quality standards. Can't mess around with that.
Sounds like your negotiation skills would be tested daily. Something else that caught my eye, the career path. You can begin as an assistant, work your way UP, and eventually lead a whole team of quality pros. That's pretty cool.
That's what I love about this field. There's a really clear way to move up. Start by learning the basics, shadowing people who've been doing it for years. But eventually, you could be in charge of huge projects, shaping how an entire company does quality management. The impact of that's got to be super rewarding.
Totally. Can't argue with that. But let's not pretend it's easy, right? That
Yeah.
much influence comes with huge responsibility. The sources really emphasize this. Lives are actually on the line if quality's not there, especially on these kinds of projects. It's serious stuff.
And that is exactly why getting certified is not just some extra thing on your resume. Those certifications like, Certified Quality Manager or CQM, Certified Construction Manager, CCM, they prove you know what you're doing. It tells everyone, hey, I didn't just read a book, I've got the knowledge to back this up. That's huge EE.
Yeah, it's like that stamp of approval that says, I can handle this, I'm the real deal. Especially in a field that's always changing, like the tech coming out is crazy. Having that edge is more important than ever.
Couldn't agree more. All these sources are mentioning things like quality control software, tools, Procore, Autodesk Construction Cloud. It's changing how we do inspections, how we keep track of problems, even how we analyze all the data. Any construction quality manager who wants to stay ahead of the game, these tools are becoming essential.
Okay, so we've figured out this role. It's way more than just, wearing a hard hat and reading blueprints. You need that technical stuff, but also how to work with people, how to adapt on the fly. Honestly, it's kind of fascinating.
Oh, it definitely is. It's taking those ideas, right, like quality, safety, which sound kind of vague, and turning them into something real, something you can see and touch. Making sure what we build isn't just impressive looking, but it's built right, built to last, built to keep people safe. That's what it's all about.
Puts things in perspective, yeah. It's not just like how pretty the building is. It's about how strong it is, how seiche it is, the legacy it leaves behind. Makes you think.
And that brings us to something super important. It's highlighted in all these sources. The human element. Construction quality managers, they're not dealing with just concrete and steel all day. It's people, teams, and let's be real, sometimes those viewpoints clash. Got to navigate that.
So how do they do that? How do you make sure everyone's on the same page about these strict quality standards, especially with deadlines and budgets, looming over everything?
That, my friend, is where those soft skills we talked about, they become essential. Being able to clearly communicate, negotiate, even mediate when things get heated. You're that bridge between the technical side of the project and the people actually making it happen.
And from what we're seeing, got to be ready to wear a lot of different hats, huh? One minute you're deep in some complicated blueprint, the next you're out on the construction site battling the weather to inspect materials.
You got it. That's what makes this field so dynamic. There's no time to get bored. Constantly got to think on your feet, solve problems, and make sure every single part of that project is meeting those quality standards. It's a lot.
Sounds both exhilarating and exhausting at the same time, but Gotta imagine, for the right person, the rewards outweigh those challenges, right? What are some things that make construction quality managers tick, according to these sources? What motivates them?
One thing that really stood out to me was that sense of like contributing to something real, something that benefits people. Imagine you helped build a bridge that connects two towns that were isolated before, or a school where kids can learn in a safe environment. That's a legacy most careers just can't offer.
That's powerful stuff right there, to know your work is making a real difference in the world. But let's get into the day-to-day, yeah? What does a typical day even look like for a construction quality manager? Is there even such a thing?
Honestly, probably not. But the sources do give us some interesting peeks into the daily life, the tasks, all that. One thing that comes up a lot, documentation and communication. Turns out those are huge E.
Makes sense when you think about it. You're the point person for all things quality, right? So you got to be able to explain what you're seeing, whether it's detailed reports, presentations to the bigwigs, or just explaining a complicated issue to a subcontractor. Clarity is key.
You got to be able to switch up your communication style depending on who you're talking to, but always stay professional.
Mhm.
It's a tough balance, but so important.
Right, because it's not just technical jargon and blueprints all the time. You're dealing with people, personalities, and yeah, sometimes those big egos.
100%. And speaking of different personalities, let's talk about the different stages of a construction quality manager's career. Because as you move up, your responsibilities change, the people you work with change, it's all connected.
Good point. Yeah. The sources, they actually break it down into three distinct phases: entry level, junior, and senior. Each one has its own hurdles and rewards.
Exactly. So how about we dive into each of those stages? We can look at the typical responsibilities, the skills you need at each level. Starting with entry level, those first steps into this world. So when you're just starting out, entry level, it's like, you got to soak everything up like a sponge, right? The sources describe this as a time of serious learning. You're helping the more experienced managers with inspections, double-checking quality, reviewing those construction plans, and documenting everything, every little detail.
Sounds like building a super solid foundation is what this is all about. Getting those technical skills down, understanding how things work, and developing that, like, eagle eye for detail, right?
Spot on. And it's not just watching from the sidelines either. Even at this early stage, they want you to use your brain, your critical thinking skills, to point out potential problems, maybe even suggest solutions.
Earning those stripes, proving you can handle the responsibility that comes with being a construction quality manager. Okay, so next step. You've moved up from entry level. Now you're a junior construction quality manager. What changes? What's different?
This is where you get to, spread your wings a bit. You get more freedom, more responsibility too. Instead of just assisting, now you're leading those inspections yourself, creating quality control procedures, even training the folks out on the construction site.
Okay, so it's all about taking ownership at this point. You're not just following orders anymore. You're making decisions, running things, really putting your own stamp on the work.
Exactly. You become the go-to person for your team, making sure everyone's on the same page about those quality standards, the procedures, all that. Your leadership skills, they really start to come through as you guide and mentor others.
That's a lot on your plate, but man, that's got to feel good. Okay, so we've climbed the ladder from entry level to junior construction quality manager. What's it take to reach the top? What's the senior stage of this career path look like?
This is where you become like the real deal, a leader in your company. You've put in the work, you've handled the tough challenges, and now you're in charge of whole teams of quality pros. You're creating quality management systems for the entire company, even working with those regulatory bodies, industry folks. It's a whole other level.
Wow, that's a huge step up. It's not just knowing the technical stuff about construction quality anymore. It's about being a leader with vision, thinking strategically, communicating effectively. You got to rally the team, inspire them to be the best.
That's exactly it. At this point, you can't just react to problems, you got to see them coming. You're finding ways to improve things before they even become problems, constantly pushing the limits of what quality management can be within your organization.
So it's like this ongoing journey of learning, always growing. The sources, they emphasize this. Being a lifelong learner is crucial in this field. You're going to workshops, getting those advanced certifications, keeping up with all the new tech, the regulations. Everything's changing all the time.
Yeah, the construction world is not standing still. New materials pop up, new technologies, building codes get updated. You snooze, you lose in this line of work. Got to stay sharp.
So you need serious dedication, a true passion for quality and safety, it's clear. Okay, let's get practical for a sec. Let's say you're hooked. You want to be a construction quality manager. You've got the drive, the passion, maybe even the hard hats ready to go. What actual steps can you take to make this dream a reality?
Well, the good news is these sources are full of practical tips for people who want to get into this field. And it all starts with that super important first impression, your resume.
Right, because in the digital world we live in, that resume, it's often the very first thing a potential employer sees, right? It's got
Mhm.
to grab their attention, showcase what you can do, your experience, make them want to learn more.
Exactly. And these sources, they give us some gold when it comes to making your resume stand out. First thing, you got to speak their language, the language of the industry. That means using specific keywords, things related to quality management, construction, terms like, CQM, CCM, inspection, compliance, risk assessment. These are like signals telling the hiring managers you understand their world.
You're talking directly to those computer programs that a lot of companies use now to scan resumes, the AI stuff. But keywords alone won't get you the job. You got to back them up with real examples of how you've used your skills, your knowledge in actual situations. That's the good stuff.
That's where those early jobs, those experiences we talked about, they become super valuable. Did you volunteer for inspections? Did you shadow a construction quality manager? Even those things that seem small, they show you're proactive. You're genuinely interested in this work.
It's not just listing what you did, it's about the impact you made. Did you spot a safety hazard during an inspection? Did you suggest a better way to do something that saved time or money? Those are the stories that make your resume come alive, make you stand out.
All right, so you've got that awesome resume ready to go. Now you got to prepare for the main event, the interview.
And let's be real, construction folks, they're not going to go easy on you. They're going to ask some tough questions, see what you know, how you solve problems, how you think on your feet. It's the big leagues.
And that's where our sources come to the rescue again.
Yeah.
They actually gave us a list of common construction quality manager interview questions. Like having a cheat sheet for the big test, it's awesome.
It's like a sneak peek behind the curtain. So, what kind of questions come up a lot in these interviews?
Be ready to talk about your experience with this stuff. Construction quality management, how you make sure things are up to code, how you handle a situation where, like, a subcontractor is just not meeting the standards. They want real-life examples showing you can handle it.
It's all about showing them you can take what you know and actually use it on a project. Navigate those tricky situations that always seem to pop up in construction. So, any tips for handling those curveball questions, those ones you didn't see coming?
The sources suggest practicing your answers, which makes sense, but don't sound like a robot. It's got to be natural. Think of it more like storytelling. You're using those specific examples from your own experiences to show off your skills, how you overcame those challenges.
Yeah, showing, not just telling. Paint that picture with your words. Let your passion come out.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to be yourself. Let your personality shine through. Construction is a people business at the end of the day, and they're looking for someone who's not just good at their job, but also someone they can actually see themselves working with.
So you're selling those skills, but you're also making a connection, showing them you'd be a valuable part of the team. That's huge. Now, something that often gets overlooked when we talk about careers, the power of networking. It's not always just what you know, but who you know, right?
Absolutely. Building a strong network in your field, it can open doors you never even knew existed. You get valuable advice, mentorship, even a leg up in the job market. It's huge.
Okay, so how do you actually do that? How do you network in the construction world?
Well, the sources had some good advice on that. Joining professional organizations like, the American Society for Quality or the National Association of Construction Quality Managers, that gives you access to networking events, conferences, even online groups where you can connect with people in the industry, learn about what's new, maybe even find a mentor.
Those organizations sound like the real deal. What about something maybe a little easier to get into, especially when you're just starting out?
Don't underestimate the power of social media. LinkedIn is fantastic for connecting with people in your field. Share your experiences, reach out to construction quality managers you admire, ask for advice, maybe even a quick informational interview. You never know.
Those informational interviews, those can be game changers. You get to pick someone's brain, learn from their career journey, maybe even get your foot in the door at a company you'd love to work for.
And be proactive. Don't be afraid to reach out, ask those questions, let them see how excited you are about this line of work. A simple conversation can lead to amazing things seriously.
Building relationships, it's like investing in your future. You're right. Okay, we've covered a ton of ground here. From those technical skills, the certifications, to networking, making your resume awesome. But there's this whole other side we haven't really touched on, the money.
You're right. Got to talk about it. Passion and purpose are great, but we got to pay the bills too, right? It's important to know what kind of financial rewards you can expect in this field. Time to talk numbers.
Exactly. So let's get down to brass tacks here. What's the salary situation like for construction quality managers? What can you realistically expect to earn when you're the one making sure those impressive structures are safe and high quality?
Well, the good news is, those construction quality managers, they're generally doing all right for themselves, financially speaking. The sources, they show that their expertise is valued, which makes sense. But like any job, there's a range. You know, experience, location, those certifications, all that plays a role. Not everyone's making the same amount, that's for sure.
Right, right. Okay, so let's break it down a bit. For someone who's just starting out, those entry-level construction quality manager gigs, what's the salary range looking like these days?
So, based on what we've gathered, those just entering the field, they can expect to earn, on average, between redacted salary data not found in provided text annually.
Mm,
Got to remember, though, that's just the beginning. As you get more experience, build up your skills, those numbers can definitely go up, sometimes a lot.
okay, good to know it's not a dead end, there's room to grow. So what about someone who's been at it a few years, the junior construction quality managers out there? What kind of pay bump are we talking about?
All right, so you've got some solid experience under your belt, a few projects you can talk about. You're probably looking at a range of redacted salary data not found in provided text or more, potentially. And this is where those certifications we talked about, those CQMs, CCMs, they really can make a difference, like literally in your paycheck.
It's like leveling up in a video game, right? You
Counselor.
gain those skills, snag those certifications, and boom, bigger numbers.
Exactly. But let's not forget about location, 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 as they say. Just like with most jobs, where you're actually working has a big impact on how much you earn.
Yeah, I'd imagine in those big cities, lots of construction going on, you're probably commanding a higher salary compared to like a smaller town where there's less going on.
Right on. And even the type of construction projects matters. Those massive commercial projects like skyscrapers, huge infrastructure stuff, that often comes with a higher salary compared to smaller residential projects. Makes sense. The stakes are higher.
So lots of variables in play, but it sounds like the overall message is construction quality management, you can make a decent living, and there's real potential to climb that ladder, make more money as you go. That's a win-win.
For sure. The more experience you have, the more specialized you become, the more you can move up, take on bigger roles, lead bigger teams. And yeah, that often comes with a bigger paycheck, which is nice. Some construction quality managers even go out on their own, start their own consulting business, set their own rates, choose the projects they want. Pretty cool stuff.
Oh, wow. That entrepreneurial spirit, I love it. You're in control of your own destiny.
Exactly. And let's not forget about that feeling. Knowing you're playing a critical role in making sure those buildings, those bridges, everything's safe and well built, that's got to be worth something, right?
No doubt. Making a real difference in the world, leaving your mark, that's a powerful motivator. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into construction quality management, anything else you want to leave our listeners with? Any final thoughts?
We've covered a ton of ground here. The technical stuff, those all-important certifications, networking, building that resume. But there's this one thing, kind of underlies it all, that the sources didn't explicitly mention. Integrity.
Oh, interesting. Why do you think integrity is so essential in this field specifically?
Because when it comes down to it, a construction quality manager, they're like the guardians of safety, making sure everyone plays by the rules, ethically speaking. They're the ones who have to uphold those really high standards, make sure every single project is meeting those benchmarks, even when it's tough, even when no one's looking over their shoulder.
So it's about having that strong moral compass, that dedication to doing what's right no matter what, even when things get tough or people are putting on the pressure.
100%. It's being that person who always stands up for quality, who's not afraid to speak up, the voice of reason, making sure that every project, every structure, it's not just built to look good, but it's built to last, built to be safe, to serve its purpose the right way with integrity. That's huge.
Powerful stuff. It's not just about the buildings themselves. It's about building trust, building a reputation for doing things the right way, and in the end, building a better, safer world for all of us.
Couldn't have said it better myself. A legacy worth fighting for sure.
Well said. And there you have it, everyone, our deep dive into the fascinating world of construction quality management. Hope you found it insightful, informative, and hey, maybe even a little inspiring.
Absolutely. Until next time, keep those hard hats handy and keep building your future, but always, always with quality and integrity leading the way.